Hey, Craig.
It's on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's on you, it's on me.
Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Football season has started and WSU has a win. And frankly, I mean, it's been rare in the air raid era of WSU, which is most of the last decade, with the exception of the Rolovich years. It's been rare that the season starts well offensively. So it was really nice to see against not a great team, but still they've played some bad teams early in the season before. Hello, Idaho last year, and it's been very difficult for them to put up points, but it was not difficult at all for them to put up points. They even probably should have put up more than the 50 that they put up. They probably should have scored 2 defensive touchdowns. One got taken away. It was just a really dominating offensive performance. Barring a goal-line stand and a turnover deep in territory. Another turnover on downs deep. Well, it was 2 turnovers, but it was a 4th down anyway. But yeah, really dominating offense performance, especially in the passing game. Well, pretty much, and then defense largely good, except for some breakdowns in the 4th quarter. But really had a stretch of 3 quarters where they didn't let anything happen, and the game got out of it. But overall, I think about as good a start as I think we could have expected, given it was the first game on the road, new offensive coordinator, a lot of new players. I think I was pretty satisfied. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we had a game like this to open the season and either laid a turd or had it be, reasonably tenuous, right? Like, I think back to that game in Nevada. I don't remember if that was a season opener or not, but I just remember that was real shitty, right? Going on the road there to a Mountain West team. 2018, I distinctly remember opening up at Wyoming, right? That was the Gardner Minshew opener. And it's not like, the game was like super hairy or anything like that, but it was, reasonably close throughout. We were kind of like, I don't know, man, is this Minshew guy going to be good?
Well, yeah, if you recall, I think that was a pretty good Wyoming defense, but
yes.
But I think Minshew, I think we talked about after that game, if you went back and listened, it was only something like it was 5.5 yards a pass or something like that.
Right.
So it was, you're like, well, this is not going to be very explosive. Now you look at Cam on Saturday, 9.3 yards a pass, really getting guys in space a lot, some nice downfield balls, nice throwing on the run. He missed a wide open touchdown. He should have had another touchdown.
Which apparently is all some of our fans can remember. But
he has, last year he missed a few touchdown passes, but that's literally the easiest throw he had all day, and he missed it. But he made some really tough throws. I think it's hard to appreciate, but that wide open touchdown he had, his last touchdown pass to make it 43. I mean, the guy was open, but he's rolling to his left and he just hucks it 30 yards and right on the money. Like that was a really impressive throw, and he used his legs effectively at times. And honestly, and then you come in and you got this another mobile quarterback in Matier who steps in after he gets a little banged up and sprints to the corner for a touchdown. Like I think overall the quarterback play has improved in last year. I think Cam looks better. than he did
Yep.
last year. He had very few games where he looked this good last year.
Yep. Yeah.
If any, really.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. He looked very, very good. I think that, it was kind of interesting seeing that, obviously there's some danger in being a little too online on Twitter, right? And like taking that as some sort of like legitimate analysis or overgeneralizing in terms of what that means for, the fan base as a whole. But, I just remember like he had the couple of fumbles and then he missed the touchdown pass. People like, oh my God, here we go again. Cam's so casual. And I'm just like, and then the game plays out and it's like, good God, man, 451 yards on 49 attempts, right? 76% completion. So it's not just that he was, racking up a ton of completions with dink and dunk, which we've, obviously seen before in various iterations of the air raid. He was like 75% completion and super explosive. He did have the 2 fumbles. I think only one of them I really hold against him. The one where his left tackle got whipped and he was kind of trying to escape. We could say,
down.
Yeah, we could say that he should, I don't know, tuck the ball away or whatever. But if on 4th down, it's just, you're trying to make a play. It's not, I don't worry about that one.
Hey, it saved WSU a few yards of field position. Fumbled it forward.
That's right. And then the one that he dropped, I don't know. He just dropped it. Like, that shit happens.
I guess you could say like he does like. That he was looking downfield, looking to try to still pass the ball, slipped out of his hand. He does, yeah. You could see, I could see people say like he does kind of carry the ball with one hand around a lot, but he wasn't tucking the ball. I think he basically just knocked out of his own hand. It was kind of a freak accident. I could see like I didn't watch I wasn't able to watch the first half live, so I could see that flood of things happening. The fumble and then the missed wide open touchdown, like a 2-yard pass. I could see people getting frustrated because at that point, you don't know how close this game is going to be. Like you don't know if that's going to be costing them because they're probably, you're thinking, hey, a touchdown here, they put the game away. It's 21-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
And, he misses that pass and then the offensive line gets blown up on the 4th down and then bam, but they still got 3 points out of it. Like Dean Janikowski looking like the guy who he's not related to but shares the same name with. The 55-yard field goal. I didn't know he had that in him, honestly, but I know it's an elevation. He had to win, but still, that thing was through. Like that hit the net. Like that
had another 5 yards on it at least, which is wild. He has really increased his leg strength. Like, yeah, it's pretty.
He was
crazy.
Like a 40. His 2 years ago, he was a 40-yard taking kicker, field goals outside of 40. Yeah, they just weren't going to kick outside of 40.
Yeah, and then last year he was, I think he hit a 50-yarder at some point. Mm-hmm. And then to hit that from 55 damn yards and have it be true and with plenty of distance was. I don't know, man. I didn't think that kickers could do that to that degree. Maybe kicking is going the way of Major League Baseball pitching, right? Where it's like everybody's adding, 5, 6, 7 miles an hour to their fastball. Maybe
just all through
kicking,
mechanics.
Yeah, maybe kicking, with your mechanics, you can do that too. So, yeah, that part was very cool. Like, I don't know, like I just have a hard time, and maybe I just was, I don't know, I was very sort of numb on Saturday. Like maybe that's not even the right word, but I just like with everything that's been going on, everything we obviously talked about last week, I did not really enjoy watching college football on Saturday. And I was, I think it was kind of on in the background at times, but I really wasn't paying attention hardly at all. And then it came time for the Cougs. And then of course the CBS Sports Network debacle kept us from seeing most of the first quarter, unless apparently you went to the website they were directing you to on a laptop or desktop computer. You couldn't do it on your phone. And like, so I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to watch it. And this is how apathetic I was on Saturday. Like, I wanted to watch the Cougs. I was super pissed at CBS Sports doing all that. And I found out after trying to get it working, like I'm trying to work it on I'm sitting on the couch. I'm trying to work it on my phone. I'm trying to install the CBS Sports app on my TV. And all of those are just showing, fucking Western Kentucky. And I'm finally just like, oh, fuck, this is so stupid. And then I see a tweet from, I think Rochelle, it was Rochelle, and said, it'll work if you go do it on a computer. And I look across the room. My computer is sitting on the desk. And I'm just like, fuck, I don't feel like getting up and trying to make another thing work. So I just sat there and waited for the end of Western Kentucky. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to go get another device and try to figure it out and try to make it work. And I'm just like, I don't even want to get off the couch right now because I'm so annoyed and irritated. And so, yeah, it was. And then after that, obviously, you missed, like I missed, pretty much the entire first quarter. And so from there, it just was kind of like,
judging by the 30-minute recap I found on YouTube.
Yeah.
Their very first play is like 5 minutes left in the first quarter. So that's probably about when it came back.
Yep.
And it was,
And
WSU had already scored a touchdown. Yeah.
And I just I don't know, man. I just found myself having a hard time getting super duper into the game. I was having fun. I was glad. It was exciting. But also at the same time, when Ward fumbled, I was just like, oh, well, that sucks. I don't know. I couldn't get all that worked up. And then it, of course, as the game played out the rest of the way, it sort of evened out, right? Cam sort of finished strong, and the game really should have been something like 50 something to about 7 or 10 or whatever. And then ended up being 50-24 because of special teams and inexplicable big plays on defense. Cause we still had our ones and twos.
Still had,
there.
Yep. It was not,
when that was going
it was
on.
not, it's not heavy backup that I didn't have, the kick return, that's frustrating. I hope that's something they clean up. I hope they just boot touchbacks the whole fucking year. Which they did, except for that one.
Yep.
But hopefully that is not, we saw in years ago, WSU had terrible special teams largely because they had terrible depth. And hopefully that is not an issue. I still think those guys they have in depth are better than, the Wolf era guys that were just getting ran past on special teams all the time. I just hope that was just a one-off. It really, and then the wide open deep touchdown. I didn't have it all 11. God damn it. Fucking stupid fucking thing.
I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. It's my computer went to sleep. That fucked us over last week. Okay,
yeah,
don't even cut that out.
We're okay.
They could just hear that. Sorry to explain it. Last week, my fucking computer
went to sleep.
I cannot fix it. It just goes to sleep every 5 minutes, even though I have it set for 5 hours. I've seen it's like a similar problem with other ones, and I just haven't had time to fix it. But anyways, so it just went black, and I was like, fuck, because last week we had to restart a new recording. Jeff had to patch out all the other whatever. So we didn't have to do that this week. Whatever. Good. I'm just going to keep moving my damn finger on the touchpad so it doesn't go to sleep. But yeah, so that long touchdown, I wish I had it all 11, but I kept trying to look and see what happened. The corner they're obviously in a zone. The corners at least were in zone. The corner just let him go, but the safeties had both stepped up. Like they were both within, 15 yards of the line of scrimmage and grabbing someone coming across. And so once that corner let him go, there was no one. Yeah. And how quickly the QB got it out there, it kind of seemed like Colorado State had a feeling that might happen. And so but he was wide open. And
the kid who replaced Millen actually looked pretty good too.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that guy's going to be their starter going forward because he certainly looked much.
Well, that's
better
when they
than
put up
what-
all their yards when
Yes.
he came in. All their yards and points. He was looking better than Millen. But those back to back, it was funny. Like we were hanging out like around a fire after we got back from rafting, and I just kind of had it on my phone. I'd be talking to somebody. WSU scores to make it 36-3, and I'm talking to Marty and Corey, and then all of a sudden I look at my phone. I open my phone back up to the feed. 36-10. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they score another quick touch. Every time I put my phone in my pocket, they'd score another touchdown for it seemed. They put up some points at the end. It's always a bummer when that happens. You want to see the absolute blowout score. But hopefully those are some things, both special teams and the back end of the defense, that they can fix, because the front seven, especially the front four, looks very solid. And then Hicks looks good as hell. I mean, pick six. He had that thing the whole way. He also had I think a half a sack or a sack. I don't know what they gave him credit for. On a great blitz on a fourth down, just busted through the line. He looks really good. He was just sound most of the day. That wasn't his side that it was on. But yeah, he looks really good. We got some players, obviously Shaw is still good, and the defensive line is good. But it didn't feel the linebackers were making tackles. They weren't letting it get to the second level. I think that the defensive line obviously had a lot of play in that too. But overall, they absolutely, after that first drive, which took a lot of plays and a lot of time to get like 55 yards. Yeah. They I think it was the next like 10 drives they totaled like 100 yards. So there was a stretch they were just absolutely dominating them, and then the floodgates opened with the kick return and a blown coverage. Now, you don't want to see that blown coverage in the future, especially against teams that are closer to you. They were fortunate, but again, it's the first game of the year. It's nice that you're lucky to have played a worse team, and actually going on the road, it's kind of nice. It gives that extra bit of confidence that you've won on the road already. And plus that's one of your road games is out of the way and you got a W. So, overall, they had, I think it would have been nice to see them, get more sacks. They only have one. But it seems like they had a lot of pressure at times, and they were sound against the run. Because even with just that one sack, CSU had 37 yards on 20 carries, and that one sack was for 11 yards. So they had 48 yards on 19 carries, which is great. I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Good to see, because we'll talk about Wisconsin in a bit. Definitely going to be need to be able to stop the run against Wisconsin. But yeah, overall, I picked 24-17. So egg on my face. Like I couldn't trust a WSU offense to start well with the first game. It's hard, but they really did, and I was impressed, and it was fun to watch on the replay and all that, and I think it feels like Cam has made a step forward. It feels like he's a better quarterback. And they really, really needed that, and it feels like the offensive line is a little better too. I mean, it could be the competition, but we'll see. But yeah, I think he used his legs to make a lot of plays. That's his thing, and then he made some big throws. Missed the easiest one, but made a lot of other really good ones. Yeah. Yeah, and Leak and Victor, obviously the one guy that he had, that was back really, He definitely was his favorite target, and
Yeah.
Lincoln was great. He looked great.
Yeah, it was. I know that we kind of expected Lincoln Victor to take a big step forward last year, and then he didn't. And it was. I mean, there seemed to be sort of legitimate reasons. Part of it seemed to be they didn't really have a home on. Like, is he an inside receiver? Is he an outside receiver? He kind of moved around a lot. To see him have such a big game was actually like super duper cool. Like, and it was. It was just kind of everything. He was open a lot. He was thrown to a lot. He had 14 targets, 11 catches. That's a pretty good conversion rate on a high volume target day. 100 of his yards came after the catch, if you believe the stat broadcast here. Just a really good day, and the receivers looked just fine. They looked good all over the place. The one guy who I was super excited to see was DT Sheffield, and he only had 3 catches. So
he looked
for 19 yards.
He looked real good in punt returns, though.
Yes, and I think that's maybe where he'll end up doing a bit more damage. Is
really got north-south,
so
used his speed. Yeah, he was solid. Now it was kind of weird because the guy was doing the rugby ones, so it's hard to tell.
Some extremely weird rugby ones though. Like they were so low, and I don't think I've ever. Have you ever seen anything like that before? Because I can't recall ever seeing that.
Yeah, I remember when Reed Forrest first started punting at Wazoo, they were having him punt like that, and then they changed. And when Paul Wolf came in, he had him punt normally. But I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember being that low. That was crazy. Yeah. Josh Kelly looked good. He was, 8 targets, 7 catches, so he was pretty much catching everything they were throwing his way. Looks like a real solid guy. He'll be, real solid guy on third downs and stuff too. Andre Dollar had a catch. That was fucking awesome.
For 20 yards.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude.
How about that? Carlos Hernandez, true freshman, came in last spring, and they actually kind of had him playing in a couple different spots too. He was outside a little bit, which was different from when we saw him in the spring when he was, I think, exclusively inside. So that was super cool. And I think it's notable for, the guys who didn't play. Now, as I said last week, and I'll reiterate, I have not paid super close attention to injuries. So if the guys I'm about to mention are injured, send me an email and tell me I'm an idiot. But like Leighton Smithson, who was a guy who was a freshman last year, who looked like he was going to be, stepping into an outside receiver role. As far as I could tell, he didn't play at all. Now, he might be injured. I'm not sure if he took any snaps, but he certainly didn't have any catches or targets. Just like it's that sort of thing where you're like, okay, now you got more guys coming in. They're passing those guys. Cyan Nunnally didn't have any catches or targets either. I saw him in at the end of the game, but he seems to kind of be on the outside looking in at the moment after, running with the twos in the spring, looking awfully good doing it.
In the WSU book, he had 1 target.
He did have 1 target, okay. But he didn't have any catches. And like I said, I felt like he came in sort of right at the end of the game. He didn't get much run other than that. So
I'll say Smithson. Yeah. Smithson was injured earlier but that was like early August was missing time. So maybe he's he may working his way back. Yeah. But
at any rate, it's just sort of like, you got these new guys come in, they step right in, they do a job, and they look very good doing it. They absolutely look like Pac-12 wide receivers. Let me ask you this. If it was concerning to you that we really weren't able to run the ball at all.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I mean, whatever Cam tried the read option, that was not good.
Nakia Watson, 7 carries for 15 yards. Jalen Jenkins, 7 carries for 11 yards. So between the two of them, 14 carries for 26 yards, less than 2 yards a carry. And that's
concerning. No. That's a concern. And because they definitely, and then they didn't use the running backs much. Obviously, if they only had 14 carries from your top two running backs, Cam.
I think they would have liked to have used them more, but every time they ran the ball, they were left in, long yardage situations. They just couldn't.
Obviously they drew up a couple of nice gains for them in the passing game. Obviously Nakia had that touchdown on a wheel route, and then they had a real nice kind of little quick, almost shovel pass to Jenkins that he got a nice gain on too. So so they were able to use him a bit, but I hope they can figure something out. Hopefully there's something to learn there, because it's going to be tough sledding against better teams if you're getting 2 yards of carry from your top two running backs.
I mean, it's this weekend in particular. That's going to be an issue. So
I guess we could wrap up talking about Colorado State. Overall, solid win, good. They looked every bit of a team that we hope can win like 6 to 8 games. So and that was nice.
And it's not that's, as we've talked about, that's not a given, right? Yep. Looking good in the first game, coming out, moving the ball, not a given. Even if Colorado State still is pretty bad this year, it's still not a given that we would walk in there and stomp all over them. So I'm plenty pleased. I've got a friend, I love him to death, but he was just sort of like, we should be beating them by more. He was saying that the whole game, and I'm just like, man, it's the first game of the year.
They were up.
Yes,
they were up 36-3 at one point.
Yeah. So this was back when it was, 17-3, right? And he's like, we should be up 30-3 right now. And the truth is, yeah, sure. Yes, probably should have been. But also it's his first game, still pretty comfortable. As much as we love scores that look really good, ultimately it doesn't really mean anything, right? We're not positioning ourselves for a CFP berth. So, just get the win, put it in your pocket. Lots of good stuff happened. There's definitely some correctable things. And then, look toward Wisconsin. All in all, I'm thrilled. So
yeah, and let's pivot to talking about Wisconsin. Now, of course, this is it obviously I feel bad, but in another universe, this game I would be so hyped for. And I still am hyped for it. It is, as Jeff Collier wrote, this is the third power conference team ever to play in Pullman, non-conference.
Yep.
And obviously the first time in 25 years. We've played many power teams, but it's been in Seattle, it's been in Spokane, and all this stuff. Even in Tacoma. This is a game I found an old thing I wrote about how when they moved this game to 2023, it was 2013 when they did it, and all of us thought back then it just gives them time to back out of it.
Zero chance.
Zero chance. But here we are, and a lot of it's because of the money that Wisconsin could get from still coming to us that wasn't there before. Part of it's the TV contract. A lot of it that's the gates, and a lot of that has to do with the luxury seats. So which it's hey, a team at Wisconsin actually came, which also is a little depressing because we reached this point that we've just been wanting for so long, a high profile non-conference program in Pullman, and this is the fucking last time it's gonna happen.
Yep.
This is it.
Yep.
If we couldn't do it when we were a power conference team for 60 years, we're sure as fuck not gonna do it when we're not that.
Yep.
It sucks. This is it.
Yep.
Like I've been thinking about that a lot this week, and it's been bumming me out. Like it's just this is such a huge moment for WSU athletics to host this game, but everything has just fallen apart in the last few months, and so this is it. This is the last time we're having a ranked power conference team come into Pullman, play in front of a sold out crowd, a crazy ass crowd, and with all the fanfare, it's just gonna be packed in Pullman. The Wisconsin fans, everything, and it's never gonna be like this again, and it sucks. So I'm excited for the game. I'm going out there, I'm gonna have a good time, but in the back of my mind, it's just kind of reminding me of what we're losing. And it's like right as we gained it, we're losing it. It sucks, man.
Yeah. It's going to be extremely weird. Like I've tried to kind of figure out what I think the vibe is going to be like, and I think you're right. Like it's always going to be back of mind for the entire weekend, that this is it. Right.
I mean, this is a nationally televised network, ABC primetime game in Pullman against a ranked non-conference opponent. And this is one of the biggest games ever in Pullman. And it's just, it's it. This is it. So we better enjoy it.
One way or another, we are going to enjoy it. I think, like so many of us are traveling over, right? Like pretty much our entire crew is going to be there. People who, I haven't seen in a while, like, Brian Floyd is even going to be there, man. So like for, people who listen to this podcast who go way back with Cougs Center, Brian was one of the
Did you ever listen to our original podcast?
Yeah.
Brian was on that a bunch.
He was. So, it's, we're all going to get together and have a good time. And like I said, I do wonder like kind of what the vibe's going to be, like if it's going to be celebratory or wistful. Like I don't think it'll feel like the last time I think that it was sort of this big was when game day came, and the sort of the party atmosphere around that. I don't know. I don't think it's going to quite be like that. So, but it'll be fun. I'm excited to see everybody. I'm excited to make some noise. I'm excited to show out, even if it has like, serious like Sonics in 2008 vibes, to the whole thing. But, what can you do? There's not a whole lot we can do, but show up and cheer loudly.
And hopefully cheer a lot because, Wisconsin picked up a lot of high profile transfers. Obviously, a new coaching staff. They're a bit of a lesser known entity than, the team that WSU eked out a win over in Madison last year. I'll say one of the great days as a fan of Wazoo and having been there and everything. That was amazing. So it's trying, I know like a lot of us are trying to recapture that, like that weekend, like, okay, they're coming back. But they're definitely going to have a chip on their shoulder, the players at least that were there. They're going to want to beat Wazoo. But of course we have, Dicker and Nakia who have a vested interest in beating Wisconsin beyond the normal stuff. I was wondering if their offense, I went and looked at their offense against Buffalo. Which, by the way, if were the Wisconsin fans like freaking out because they didn't beat Buffalo by more? Like, I don't know. Like Buffalo was solid last year. They were, a bowl team, but definitely better than Colorado State. But it was 38-17. It was nothing like spectacular. So I'm wondering if they're, the Wisconsin fans have the same feeling of like, oh, we should beat them by more. And Wisconsin was at home, of course. I don't think Wisconsin goes and plays MAC teams the way WSU has long played Mountain West teams on the road.
Yes.
but to get to the point, Wisconsin ran the ball. So I think Wisconsin was sacked 3 times. Oh, sorry, once. One time for 3 yards. So they ran the ball 39 times for 317 yards, which is about 8 yards a carry. You know?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
That's pretty fucking good.
Yes, it is. That's what I've been told.
They are the Wisconsin that we know. They are a smash mouth team. Obviously, they have Braylon Allen, who WSU did a good job against last year, but he carried the ball 17 times for 141 yards. Sorry, 2 touchdowns. They have that Chez Malusi, who played last year, who didn't do much against WSU either. He had 13 carries for 157 yards, 89. He's explosive. We knew that. So they have 2 very, very good running backs. Allen, who can kind of do it all, and Malusi's kind of I'm probably saying his name wrong, but I don't care. Who is a guy who can break a big one, and I think that we were worried about that last year. It didn't end up happening. Passing game was not super impressive. 31 attempts for 189 yards. You go 32 for 166 or 186 if you take out the. Can you still hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. I was touched the damn thing. It still went to sleep. I don't know. So 32 dropbacks for 186 yards. That's not super efficient. He threw 2 picks. So quarterback is definitely still looks to be a soft spot. So really, it's going to come down to, can they again control the ground game when Wisconsin has the ball, because they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball 35, 40 times. They're just going to keep running the ball, and I think especially on the road, they're going to try to. They know they're the more talented team. They're going to try to assert their dominance. That's just Wisconsin football. So WSU, they're like. WSU is going to have to do what they did last year, step up against that run, get them into some 3rd and longs that are tough to convert. And really what they did last year was convert, stop Wisconsin in scoring positions. And then WSU was able to convert in some scoring positions, and that's how they won. So that's again, it's going to be the same game as last year. Now, what makes me feel a little bit more optimistic is I think our passing offense is a lot farther along than it was at the same point last year. Wisconsin has a tough defense, but I think that this is going to be a step up. Cam is going to be a step up from what Wisconsin saw last year.
Yep.
All right, you there?
Yeah.
Just a yep. Sorry. So overall, it's hard to get a read on them because they had so many new guys and a new coach and everything. But I think largely what holds true is that they're defensively focused. One thing that makes me optimistic is they had no sacks against Buffalo on 41 dropbacks. So that's positive.
Yeah. That's positive.
Yeah. Because obviously WSU struggles with that. I think it's going to be Buffalo had some success running the ball against them. Let's see, it was their top 2 running backs. One had 12 for 52 and one was 12 for 51. So that's positive as well. Their running game was solid. Now when it came to actually explosive plays, Buffalo had 1 go for 51, but the other 40 attempts went for 143 yards. So I think you can expect Wisconsin to drop some guys in coverage and try to limit big plays on us. So getting some chunks on the ground is going to be very important.
I think that's absolutely true. And, I think that they are, we kind of didn't know it last year, but they definitely had some dysfunction, right? Like that our game revealed. They've got new coaches here. Luke Fickell, really good coach, right? I mean, he was known for what he did at Cincinnati. He got hired from Cincinnati. He was I believe he was the defensive coordinator at Ohio State before that. So we know he's a really, really good coach. We know that, Wisconsin is going to be well coached when they come in. But also, hostile environment. And I think I'm kind of curious to see if, Wisconsin has a little bit of, bad taste in their mouth from last year, or if they even care, right? Because that whole season was such a shit show for them that I kind of wonder if like they even actually think about that at all, right? It's like the Don Draper thing, right? Like I don't think about you at all, like I wonder if there's some of that. So I don't know. It'll be curious. I'm curious. It'll be interesting to see. It certainly should be tough, but I think, our guys are definitely going to be up for it. I think that, I do think that the revenge tour vibe is real. I when you're dealing with college kids, I do think that kind of stuff can motivate them and keep them going. And, when they think about, hey, we'll prove to you that we're not a Mountain West team or whatever. And, kind of go out that way. So, and I think that so many of the circumstances around the game are going to be just perfect. We've already talked about all the people that are going to be there. I believe it's officially a sellout. So
it is.
That'll be awesome. And then the kickoff time is perfect, right? Like 4:30 is about as perfect of a time as you can get these days. I mean, I think 2:00's maybe like the perfect time, but you never get those much anymore. Pac-12 network sometimes, but a 4:30 start, national TV. It's just gonna be lit. The weather's gonna be gorgeous. It's gonna be 80 whatever on Saturday. The crowd will be nice and lubed up, lubricated, and it should be wild. So
yeah, it's gonna be. I'm excited for all the people that'll be there, all the people we know that'll be there, a lot of people that have emphasized being there, because I think like you mentioned, this revenge tour, the team is definitely this is gonna be like, especially it being a Big Ten team, just wanting to prove something. Obviously they're well aware they can't like play themselves into a conference, but just to stick a middle finger at the Big Ten and be like, well, you took our rival, but you won't take us. So like, fuck you, we'll take out one of your teams. And honestly, that's where I'm at too. That's my mindset. Like, this hasn't because of what we talked about earlier, this has an added element of like winning this game. If they win this game, like it'll just feel, I think it'll be a feeling unlike anything. Like anything I've experienced as a WSU fan. Which may make if it's like a close loss even more devastating. Just because it feels like it's like a one-time opportunity. So yeah, I hope that that extra motivation is enough. I think this team is talented enough on offense to put up enough points to beat them. And I think we've seen when they get fired up to stop a run, when they can focus on a kind of a one-dimensional team, or a team that's so focused on. Now I'll say like Wisconsin's one dimension is very, very good. And they have two very talented running backs. They have the classic big ass Wisconsin offensive line. But if they can just focus on that and they can gear up towards stopping the run, we've seen under Dicker that they can really shut it down. Or at least, you don't need to shut it down, just mitigate it. Get them in some third and longs. Force them to make plays in the passing game. You have good guys in the secondary. Corners that can cover, safeties that are good. And I think we're so much less likely to see like mental breakdowns in this game, like we saw against Colorado State. just the intensity is going to be amped up. But it's important to think Wisconsin's going to be amped up too. Like, they're on the road. They're going to think, like, they're going to come out and they're going to be like, what the fuck is this stadium? Like, this is half the size of ours. Like, they're going to be talking shit. Hopefully that takes off their edge somewhat. But I think the crowd's going to be lit. I hope the students stay the whole game. I think they will.
I hope so.
But, when there's a big game, like, Martin Stadium gets really fucking loud. And I'm so excited for that when the first time Wisconsin has the ball. And it's going to be so fun. And it has this potential to be this, like, memorable weekend. But we always put like so much of it on, like, the outcome of the game. But I hope I can just kind of step back and just kind of be in the moment of like a Power 5 team is playing in Pullman, non-conference. Yeah. Like, it actually is happening, and it's going to be the only time I'm going to see it in my life. And there's going to be, 3,000 Wisconsin fans there. It's going to be a really fun crowd, a really fun tailgate, a really fun atmosphere the whole weekend. And we just got to try to, like, be in that moment, have that same sort of mindset that we had when we went to Wisconsin last year, where it was like, hey, we're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy ourselves. We're here to watch football, but and just not have my whole, like, I'm trying to convince myself to not have my whole mood determined by the outcome of the game. But because, as anyone that knows me knows, that I can do that, and I know you too can, Jeff.
Indeed.
But yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend. Regardless, it's gonna be a great weekend. We're gonna have a good time. But let's talk about a score. And you know what? I picked first last week, and we won. We covered. So I think I should probably pick again.
I think absolutely.
I think what was the line? The last line you saw, was it like 7?
Yeah, it's like 6 or 6.5. Let me look. Okay, so I'm looking on Prediction Tracker right now. It's at 6. Wisconsin -6. So that's where we're at the moment.
So last week I didn't pick the Cougs to cover. If I don't pick the Cougs to cover this week, that means they lose. That means I would pick them to lose. But you know what? Yep. Fuck it. I'm going to say the Cougs don't cover, just like I said they wouldn't last week, because I'm not actually betting money here. So I'm going to say, so is it 6.5?
Yep.
28-21, Wisconsin. We're all sad. Cougs don't cover. I'm ready for the idiot gifts.
Yeah.
I'm ready for them. I want them. I want the idiot gifts, just like last year. So many. Yeah. That was the greatest fucking thing last year, where the idiot gifts are rolling in. 28-21, Wisconsin. Come on.
All right. I'm in on us winning the game. I think this game is more or less a toss-up.
I agree with you.
I love looking at Prediction Tracker, because I talked about this last week. They aggregate all these predictions from all these different models, and the Prediction Tracker aggregated has the prediction average at Wisconsin by 1.5, and the prediction median is Wisconsin by 1 point. So basically a toss-up, right? Like they give WSU a 46% chance of winning the game, but a 58% chance of covering. So yeah, I think that the game will be close. I think that we will win narrowly. The crowd will storm the field. There will be many middle fingers turned toward the cameras, and the Cougs win 31-30. That's what I'm calling.
31-30.
31-30.
Now
that's also hitting the over as well.
Last minute.
Keeping track.
Last minute. Now, Jeff, last minute defensive stand or game-winning touchdown or field goal?
I'm going game-winning field goal from Janikowski.
The dean of Pac-12 kickers.
There we go.
Hell yeah. I love it. All right. So we got those picks in. I'm the wet blanket picking the Badgers. Jeff picks glory, eternal glory.
I mean, why not?
Yep. All right. So, Jeff, we're trying to keep this tight and tidy, but let's get on to beer. What are you drinking?
Yeah, so I've had this in my fridge for a few weeks now, waiting until we actually record a podcast, and so I finally pulled it out tonight. I didn't drink it last week because we recorded a little earlier in the day, but this is the Fort George Spruce Bud. It's an ale with wild spruce tips. It is. I got it because I thought it sounded kind of weird. But I am absolutely in love with it. It is super delicious. As you know from my tastes in beer, I love sort of floral notes, piney notes, just those foresty kind of notes. And this has that. It's why, I like gin, right? Like that's what I get out of the gin too. Sarah's like, I can't even drink that. It tastes like I'm chewing on a pine tree. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I like it, so this kind of reminds me of that. Like I said, I got it because it was a little weird. It's also Fort George, which, you can usually count on for excellent beer. And I love it. It's really good. I'm glad I bought it.
Excellent. Sounds good. I've seen that one. I can't remember if I've tried it. But that sounds great. I might have to check it out.
It's really good.
Grab a can because I think they probably have it at Beer Star. So maybe I'll grab one for the weekend. But yeah. So Jeff, as you know, I went to Yakima this weekend, my hometown, to participate in what I like to call the flip-flop double. I just came up with that term today, or actually just right now. So as some of you may know, you can whitewater raft on the Tieton River near Natchez and Yakima in September, but only in September. And the reason you can do that is because they do this thing called the flip-flop, where the reservoirs that are up near Snoqualmie Pass for much of the summer, much of the rest of the year, that's where the Yakima Valley gets its irrigation water from, like Catchus and all that. And then those pump into the Yakima River, which then delivers irrigation water to fund the fruit basket and hop basket that is Yakima Valley. But they flip that at the start of September so that they're pumping more water into Tieton. It's much faster. So it creates all these whitewater rapids. And so we did that. And then on Sunday, we went over to the Yakima River, which you did with us last year, Jeff. And we floated the Yakima River, very standard, you start at Umtatum and you float down. Last year, it took us about 2 hours. This year, because of the flip-flop, because less water was coming from the reservoirs into the Yakima River, it took us 4 hours. So we were pretty toasty by the time, except for our drivers. Bless them, Casey, my pregnant sister-in-law, and then one other wonderful soul who did not get drunk. So our drivers there, they were sober, but the rest of us, after 4 hours on the river, with plenty of seltzer and beer and canned cocktails, we were having a good time. The flip flop. So if you do that in like we did it basically right when it happens. We did the whitewater rafting on the Tieton, and then we did the float. So I was in Yakima. And I of course went to Single Hill and bought a bunch of beer for the float. I will say this wasn't I had one of these on the float, and it wasn't the best one, but it is because I was just looking for the lightest thing possible. But this is Rain Shadow Black Lager from Single Hill Brewing, which we, of course, have recorded at before. So this is obviously not Single Hill's first appearance. If longtime listeners may remember the 2019 Yakima Hop Festival, where we recorded straight at Single Hill. One of the founders, Tyler Paxson, is a Coug, and I've known him for a long time. So it makes me love supporting Single Hill even more. And they also make great beer, and this is a great black lager. I love black lager; it's one of my favorite styles. Executed really well, good roastiness, also great crisp finish. Highly recommend Rain Shadow Black Lager, unless you're on the river. Maybe go for Adams Pilsner or something from them. But yeah, so good black lager. Check it out, Single Hill. It's there. There's Coug connections there, which is great. So yeah, that's the beer we're drinking. I also had a Holy Light from Holy Mountain, which I love this time of year when they make their light beer. It's so good, and it has great can art. But Jeff, we always like to, we finish up podcasts. We talk about this time of year volleyball and soccer. Volleyball hasn't lost since we last recorded. But they have a big week going on. They're hosting an invitational. They won tonight over somebody. I don't know if you remember.
I don't, but I can look. It was somebody not super concerning, but let me look. I'll find it.
Hold on, I almost got it. UC Irvine.
I got you.
And then tomorrow they have Towson. But the big one on Friday, for those of you who are getting in town early enough, which found out today I will be able to get in town early enough for. Excited about that.
Woo!
Is WSU, which is now ranked 13, is hosting number 8 BYU at 7 p.m. on Friday, the night before Wisconsin. So huge sports weekend. That back to back. So as big as the football game is for WSU, an equally large volleyball game going on with two highly ranked teams, number 13 and number 8. That's going to be great intensity. I heard it's pretty close to sellout. I expect it to be completely packed in there. And when Bowler gets packed, that can be very loud. And honestly, volleyball, very fun spectator sport. That is super fun sport to watch. It's just it's intensity all the time. But yeah, and then so yeah, they've still just that one loss to Louisville. So they're playing another second top 10 team, but this one they get at home. So a chance to make a statement there. And like we said last week, they were picked second in the conference. So they're expected to be pretty damn good this year. So I'm looking forward to that one. Soccer also still undefeated. I think they played after we recorded last week, but they took down San Diego State 2-1. Jeff, I don't know. Did you follow that one? I trying to remember. It seems like so long ago at this point after I had that weekend.
I know. It does seem like a long time ago. Let me see if I can pull up the stats here real quick.
Yeah, Bridget Reekid scored. And then Megan Santa Cruz with her first goal of the year. And then I feel like you told me they scored those in the first 5 minutes. They were up 2-0. And then I feel like you said the one from I think you texted me. So the one from San Diego State was a kind of a big mess up, but
yes, it was. Well, and it was a little weird because Nadia Cooper, like, she kind of spilled it, but then she put her hands down on the ball on the ground, and now normally or typically I have seen that be sort of given to the keeper as, basically refs will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, refs will do all sorts of things to protect keepers. Things that you think would not be, normal or whatever. Like as I was getting into soccer, I was kind of learning. I'm like, why can't they do that? Why can't they do that? Right? And
Yeah, you can't just run up and kick the keeper
keepers, right?
basically to get the ball out.
Exactly. And so she had both of her hands on the ball on the ground. Now she didn't, she wasn't cradling it or anything, but it was like both of her hands were on the ball on the ground. Not for very long, but at least half a second, maybe a second. And then the San Diego State player comes in, pokes it away with her toe, and pokes it into the net, and it was sort of like, it was not a good.
Like you're allowed to do that? What?
Yeah, and so it was not a great goal, but whatever. Honestly, it was one of those games. You and I watch a ton of soccer. There's a total cliche in soccer about 2-0 being the most dangerous score in soccer, which would seem very stupid because in a game where goals are at a premium, you would think having a 2-goal lead is sort of like reasonably foolproof, and it usually is. But it can cause sort of all kinds of issues for the team that gets up 2-0 because then you're a little bit kind of trying to figure out how you're going to manage it, how you're going to kind of see the game through. Do you continue to press ahead for a third? If you get too aggressive, do you end up giving one back? So 2-0 leads, especially so early, can be a little tricky to manage. And that seemed to be kind of what happened in that game. I watched most of the second half, and, they were definitely not as attack minded as maybe they normally are. It seemed like, now I don't know if that was by design or if they just were not being as effective, but they were struggling just a bit to generate real quality chances there in the second half. But again, they were able to see it through to victory, and they continue on. They're 5-0-0. They're hosting. I think they're hosting, or maybe they're traveling. I don't know.
They're hosting St. Mary's on Thursday. It's Greek Life Night, so it'll be lit.
Okay.
So if you're a tailgater, and you're, an RV driver, if you're, a lot of them get into town on Thursday night, you can park your, set your tailgate up and head on over 7:00. I think 5:00, if you can get your RV set up in 2 hours, head on over, St. Mary's. And then if you are staying longer on Sunday, they play Kansas at 1 p.m. hosting Kansas.
At least it's reasonably early. That's not too bad. Sometimes they do those at 4:00 on Sunday. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I got to get back to the kids, but we'll see.
I know. I'm the same with me. I got to get back to my children.
I guess my sister is driving, so it'll be up to her, but she also has kids to get back to, so I think she'll probably want to mosey on. But if you,
I would love to see
you have the chance to see 2 soccer games this weekend, if you're depending on when you're coming to Pullman and when you're leaving. So that's real nice. So this is just with 3 volleyball matches, 2 soccer matches, and a football game against Wisconsin. This is a huge weekend. So if you see an athletics department staffer, give them a hug. They're probably exhausted.
Yep. Especially the SIDs.
Yeah.
Give them a big hug. The SIDs, man, that is a tough, thankless job most of the time. So
yep.
That also. But
yep.
Big weekend.
Big weekend. By the way, the next home game after Kansas is Thursday, September 14th. And I'll probably say this again next week, but the theme is Swifties at the pitch. So we know our friend Ashley will be at that one. So, so great start for football, great start for volleyball, great start for soccer. Good vibes in Cougar sports right now. Would love for those good vibes to keep going through this weekend, because we need them vibes, because we don't want to think about what else is going on.
Yes.
Hopefully, Jeff, I'm excited to see you this weekend. I'm excited to see all of our friends, all of our Cougs Center, folk in Pullman.
Yep.
It's gonna be a good time. So if you want to send us an email, ask a question. I don't know if anyone did this past weekend, but I didn't ask you this past week. But I didn't ask you to, so whatever. We're at podcast vs everyone at gmail.com. That's podcast vs versus everyone at gmail.com. So you can send us, questions, whatever. And then if you want to follow me on X or Twitter or whatever the fuck, I mean, let's just dump that big, globally recognized brand for your favorite letter in the alphabet, whatever. If you want to follow me there, I'm at
Everyone
the
does
Craig
that.
Powers, at the Craig Powers. Jeff is at Pod versus everyone there. Follow us on Blue Sky. I'm Craig Powers dot whatever the things are on Blue Sky, and Jeff is newscoog dot whatever the things are on Blue Sky. Instagram, TikTok. If Craig W Powers, I don't know. I probably won't post that much about WSU on those, but those are how to follow us. And send us an email. We like emails and make us happy. So Jeff, with all that, I say good work on the timing tonight, and go fucking Cougs.
Go fucking Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get vaccinated.
Especially including your dogs.
And join a union.
Yeah. I'll join that research directors union.